Arr! Welcome to That Pedal Show. Captain Birdseye Maple here. Young Michael, ask me what I'm doing.
Are you cooking fish fingers?
I'm doing my fish finger exercises.
Oh dear. Oh lordy. Hello everyone. Welcome to That Pedal Show.
Avast ye, matey.
Viewer comments and questions. You can work out why Dan is dressed as Captain Birdseye Maple. It's Ace.
Do you like it there, young laddie?
You know that bit at the beginning where I say talk loudly and you go, and then as soon as I turn the camera on, you start yelling at the top of your voice? That thing? You know that?
Well, I'm doing it now, am I?
Welcome to Viewers, Comments and Questions. We are very pleased to be among you.
I can't keep that voice up for the whole show. We had many people last week asking where Captain Birdseye was.
Yeah.
So I thought,
Here he is.
here he is.
Mystery solved.
Indeed.
He sort of got dethroned, didn't he, from the Birdseye commercials?
Well, I watched some very questionable commercials,
Yeah.
seriously, from the 70s. I thought, I like that guy.
I think he became less relatable in the modern idiom.
Okay. All right.
Did he?
R.
Are we on?
I.
Good. What are you having for dinner tonight, Dan? It's pretty funny.
You like it?
Yeah.
Always got to go for the gag. Always got to go for the gag.
Yeah. I always used to get confused between Birdseye and Findus,
Okay.
because there was Findus crispy pancakes
Oh.
and Birdseye, and they were sort of interchangeable for me. So anyone that can shed any light on that would be great.
We'll be adding to the noise.
Right. Well, I think it's important to get these things right, you know.
I agree completely.
I did make a contextual gaffe last week, I think. I managed to call somebody, and they were somebody else.
Okay.
That's as much information as I have about that
Right.
particular instance.
Right.
But it was a serious error of judgment.
No, look, no error in judgment of this.
Yeah. No judgment.
No judgment.
I am trying to connect with no luck whatsoever, obviously. Anyway, welcome. For those of you who are new, this is That Pedal Show viewer comments and questions, where you can ask questions via Super Chat, although we are about to turn them off because the lovely BV, thank you BV for moderating, is saying that we are pretty full already, so we will probably turn them off imminently.
There's a lot of confused people. One guy said, "Is that the captain of the Titanic?" I know a shortcut home. It's icy, but it's quick.
We like it. We like it, Dan. We like it. This is BV saying something's not working.
We had the captain in last week, actually.
We did. Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn off the super chai because we've got too many. So if you've super chatted to this point, we will answer you in today's proceedings. But please, no more super chats. We will get through those that have come in, with great thanks to everyone who has asked.
Indeed.
Come on, YouTube. Come on, YouTube. And for those of you who are not new, welcome back to Dan and I blathering on about stuff for, well, usually about 2 hours. So if that seems like a stretch, get yourself a drink, sit down, and...
You want to do it in nylon?
Yeah, chill out, man. Nice. It's pretty funny. Pretty funny.
Always got to go for the gag.
Always go for the gag. As we did on Friday's show. Thank you for all your lovely comments, those of you who watched Friday's show. Getting in with the spirit of things. A lot of people were a bit grumpy that it wasn't about modern technology and why didn't you use the ABC, EDFJ?
I didn't see the grumpiness, unless you've dealt with the grumpiness before.
No, I don't
there.
deal with grumpiness in that way.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a bit of grumpiness. But there's always grumpiness, isn't it?
There's always grumpiness.
There's always grumpiness.
We must rise above the grumpiness.
We must.
And embrace as Captain Birdseye Maple would say,
It is the answer to everything. See, there's me thinking it was accessing the infinite unmanifested through conscious presence, and it's actually just ooh-ah. Yeah. Right.
Boy.
Have we got on then, Dan? Bit of a roll call, maybe?
Yeah, roll call. Plexico. G'day, mate.
Duncan.
Legend.
Sorry you missed the super chat, mate.
Yeah.
But your generosity is such that you're always first in. So
Yeah, always much appreciated.
yeah, thank you. G Barge is on. Hello, G. Nice to hear from you. Oh, hang on, I've got an ad in there. How is there an ad in there?
Charlotte Healing. Woo! Lives in a pineapple under the sea. That's very good. Very good. You must have kids.
You can actually insert ads as gear for music advertising on the.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I hope they're paying a lot of money.
Wow.
Yeah, Jason Thompson. Hi, Jason from Dallas, Texas. Stephen Koppelkam, aye, Captain, he says. Yeah, there's a new captain in town, just don't forget it. Dustin Thiessen, good lord, what's going on here? It's a fair question. Dallas, Georgia, by the looks of things, from John 777. William Bodie says it's Mick Jones. Moon says, why? David Belcher, Captain Telecaster. Kyle Harkers is on from a snowy Orkney, the Orkney Isles.
Oh, lovely.
Up there above Scotland.
We're due to get some snow next week, apparently.
That'd be nice.
There's a yellow weather warning.
I am a fan of snow. Albuquerque, says Adam D. Robert Payne. Robert Payne is a little bit moved by your new look, Dan, I think.
Yeah, okay.
In a good way. John Channing, aye, Captain. Max Peck says, so weird you guys just popped on. I was watching Status Quo at Live Aid when I got alert you were on. Greetings from Detroit. Francis Rossi has told me a story about Live Aid.
Right.
Involving various things and a helicopter that is unrepeatable on this channel.
Oh, cool. Yeah. There's some Live Aid stories floating around there. That's, yeah.
Definitely one of my favourite bands as a kid, and I've been lucky enough to interview Francis a couple of times over the years.
Oh, wow.
Lovely man that he is. I never met Rick, though, which is really sad.
I met Rick. I told you the story about when I met Rick.
Right. You probably did. How long will it take?
It'd take 2 minutes. Okay.
James Bless says Findus and Birdseye are the same company, hence the confusion, because the branding was quite similar, to be fair. Sorry, Dan.
That's okay. That's probably more interesting than my story. I met him. I'm just wondering how much of the story I can divulge. Basically, my friend was supporting Quo in Sydney, and there were toilets backstage, and my friend wasn't feeling very well. Okay. And he went into the toilet first and came out.
I can sort of see where this is going.
Yeah. And then followed by Rick. And then my friend goes, oh, I hope no one goes in there. And then Rick goes in and he shuts the door and we hear this, oh God! And he's banging, I couldn't get the door open.
For anyone still confused why Dan is wearing such a costume, Captain Birdseye Maple, is because lots of people in the show have just started to call him Captain Birdseye, so he thought he would
embrace it.
Yeah.
Embrace it.
Yeah, what's the if the shit fits, wear it. To quote the Blues Brothers. I think it was Duck Dunn, wasn't it, who said that? DGLW says, Dan dressed up as the Chibson CEO. Yes, indeed. You know the Chibson CEO dresses like that.
Yeah, I do.
If you don't follow Chibson USA on Instagram, please do. It's never fails to raise a smile. Okay, let us get into Das questions then. Hope everyone's had a lovely week. It's that time of year, certainly in our part of the Northern Hemisphere, where things are sort of waking up.
Right.
Christmas is properly dead.
Yep.
And the spring has started to happen. Everyone's sort of come out of hibernation.
Right.
They've got to grips with their credit card bills over Christmas, just in the thought of it rather than actually paying them off. And everyone's a bit less depressed than they were.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah. Yeah. It's all degrees.
Yeah.
But yeah, coming out of it, I think it's fair. Just sad news. I don't know if you know this, but David Limby passed away this week.
I did.
Yeah,
David Limby,
yeah.
and Gary Rossington.
Yeah.
And there was somebody else as well. Bass playing dude, all over Nashville for forever.
Yeah.
Played with Joe Bonamassa in the latter part of his career. I didn't realise he had played. I'm obviously searching for his name really fast and failing to grab it. He's that guy whose name never matched what he looked like.
Okay.
And I never realised that's who he was. Anyway, someone's going to come up and tell us what his name is, because it has flipping passed me by. Michael Rhodes, thank you. Sorry. Leyland Berg and David Belcher and BV, thank you very much. Yeah, Michael Rhodes, of course. I didn't realise he played on... two of my favourite albums ever are by Sean Colvin. The one that Sonny Came Home is on, and the one after Whole New You, and he played on both of those.
Oh, wow.
Two of my favourite all-time albums of all time ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, so... Wayne Shorter.
Yes, Wayne Shorter as
says
well,
Buzz
of
Crummer.
course.
Yeah, I mean, it's slightly macabre. We did, for a long time, suggest in Guitarist magazine we should have a column called Dead This Month, because people die, don't they? And
they do.
The emotion one should have is for their friends and family, and
Avast, young lassie!
sending feelings to those people, who are going to be feeling that loss. So, yeah, sad loss. I think we can honour their contribution by listening to their music and thinking about the stuff they've done in their careers, because that lives on, and that's the positive bit.
It's a life work.
Yeah.
They contributed. It's really, really beautiful stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So indeed, all things shall pass. So Swizz871 is first in this week. Swizz871. Rosie, how you doing?
Hey, pretty girl.
What do you think of Captain Birdseye?
Arr. Arr.
What do you think of Captain Birdseye then? You're going to come up here and say hello to the peoples? You're going to come and say hello to the peoples?
That would be a handsome lassie.
Come on then. It's a bit of a long way to jump, isn't it? Especially as you're a bit tired today. So we won't make you do that. We'll give you a helping hand, shall we? Here's Rosie. Lovely spaniel that she is.
She's
to
so
say
nice.
hello.
Hey, pretty girl. Hey, pretty girl.
That pedal dog. Doing very well, aren't you, Rosie? Bit fluffy. Need a haircut.
Oh, man.
That will happen this week. Okay, down you go then. Bye.
Okay.
Anyway, Swizz, it's my 27th birthday. Happy birthday,
happy
Swizz.
birthday, mate.
871. I wanted to express my gratitude to you both for everything you've done for this community. The joy, the passion, the knowledge and the humour.
All right, lassie.
Fingers for tea. Come on, Rosie.
Breakfast, lunch and tea.
The joy, the passion, the knowledge, as Swizz was just saying there. Your humour and your friendship brings us a gift for everyone. Well, thank you, Swizz, and it would be nothing without you lot. So right back at you. It is a joy to be among this community.
Aye. Sorry. Every
Never
now and
stop,
then.
please never
No,
stop.
No, I won't.
Yeah. That's very kind of you, Swizz, and happy birthday.
Happy birthday, mate.
For what it's worth, my 30s was the worst decade of my life, by far. 40s, easily the best by a million miles so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to the 50s. Yeah.
I had a proper existential crisis.
I had that at 40.
Turning 40.
Yeah.
And 50 was like, got this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But turning 40 was hard.
Yeah, I didn't
Really
enjoy
hard.
40. Anyway, just a number, innit?
Yeah.
Dad, if you're watching, hello. I helped my dad on Saturday night. My dad's 79 years old, and he does, every now and again, does an open mic or a karaoke type thing. He's got a little PA and a mixing desk and some computers and stuff. And on Saturday night, I helped him do one at the local rugby club, which was fully raucous. So, which is just to say, there he is, carrying PA cabs up the stairs.
Legend.
He had more than one less than 10 pints of Guinness. And it's just a number, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Good on you, Dad.
Leland Berg says, wait till the 60s. The engine light comes on. That's very good.
That's a great analogy.
That's very good.
That's a great analogy. Anyway, Iron Wolf 1776. Iron Wolf 1776 says, just wanted to let you know I bought my JTM 45.
Nice.
Very nice.
Very nice.
I've paired it wet dry with my kit built 50 watt Plexi.
Wow.
2 Marshall half stacks. Wet dry is the most awesome thing I've ever heard.
Yes. Yes.
No arguments from us.
Completely.
There is something that just happens with 412 cabs that is not replicable in any other way, is it really?
Oh, there's a beautiful thing that happens at the right volume that happens to your chest with a 4x12. There's a pressure that you feel in the cavity of your body that like no other guitar rig will do it for you.
For those of you listening via Patreon on the podcast, what you have missed is Dan is dressed in a captain's outfit as Captain Birdseye Maple.
There you go.
Thank you for being a TPS patron.
Indeed.
Nice one, Iron Wolf. It's great. It's very hard to go back from there, actually, once you've heard that. Everything else can feel a little bit lackluster after that,
Oh yeah.
which is a danger, you know.
Yeah.
Square Wave Symphonies.
G'day, mate.
Alex, hello mate. He says, hey legends, no question today. I haven't been able to catch a live VCQ for a while. Just wanted to stop by, leave a little love and say thank you. The last few shows were killer. Hope you're all well at TPSQ. Much love from Alex. Thank you, Alex.
Bless you, mate. Thank you so much.
That's kind of you, mate. Andreas Johansson. Hello, Andreas. Mick, do the strings on your Strats go slightly flat after bending them and go back in tune again after pressing the trem bar down? I have that issue. Okay, I think whether you're going sharp or flat or whatever it is, what you're suggesting is that you bend the strings. Yeah, okay. So you bend the strings, and what you're saying is happening is, let's find a Strat that actually does have a floating bridge because I had to unfloat the old one.
You had a floater?
I don't actually have any Strats with floating bridges at the moment.
Does the blue one float? Does the
No, they're
No.
all set a la Mick at the moment. Danish Pete, the captain, came in on the other captain came in on Tuesday, and Pete was struggling to play it, so I had to
Lock it down.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, so you bend the string, and what happens is the tension, because the increased tension from the bend pulls the trem forward, and what you're saying is it doesn't return. So there's two possible problems for that. By far the most likely is if you have, and I'm guessing you've got a vintage 6 screw bridge, those screws are too tight, and what's happening is it's not free to move without friction. And the way to do that is you, without any tension on the strings, sit the bridge flat on the guitar, put the 2 outer ones down so they are just touching the top plate, unscrew the middle 4 by a turn or half a turn so they're sitting half a mil or so above the plate. What that should do is mean that the thing can pivot without getting stuck on the tension of its own screws. In addition to that, some people remove the finish between the guitar and the bridge to help that a bit.
Wow.
It can, in addition, get stuck on the inner edge of the pick guard, so just make sure that's not happening. And finally, it's worth saying that depending on what kind of Strat you've got, these bridges can be machined to different tolerances. So like the Callahan one, for example, has got the most perfect knife edge underneath.
Yeah.
Whereas some of them have got a bit of a wavy, so that's causing friction itself. But I think that's your problem. I don't have that problem because I've just done all those things that I explained, and I hope that helps.
Beautiful.
I'm trying to think of the...
The sea shanty?
Yeah.
What's that?
They're all in D minor.
The little ship that went to sea in the name of the ship with the billy.
It's too happy.
This is too happy. Oh, that's a dirge. You're now gone to dirge land. A fast G mateys ran aground and everybody died.
Not
Eaten
yet.
by sea. Okay, not
Everybody
yet. Okay.
died is the last line.
Oh, right, okay.
It starts off with...
Pecking my eyeballs out with crabs.
1764, and a lot of people were on a ship.
Everyone had scurvy.
As she set sail and then the wind did blow, fast and slow, slow and
Mostly fast.
Anyway, about 28 verses later, and everyone desperate to get to the bar. Okay. And she sank to the bottom like a stone. They all died.
They all died.
Thank you. Perfect cadence on the end.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
There you go. That was the entire history of sea shanties. You don't need to watch any documentaries or anything.
Scott Gallus says, now I need some vitamin C. It's probably...
Yeah.
Or limes. Limes are good.
Hopefully that helps, Andreas. Mr. Baker. Hello, Mr. Baker. Dear DNM, thanks for all you've done so far. Can you help once more? I'm looking for a fuzz face to go with my wet dry rig. Strat, Fender Blues Junior and Pro Junior sub 90 dB. Volumes and fuzz. Does it clean up? Much love. I would... So, there we go. Oh, this is my friend from my friend Martin the Dutchman. You can guess where he comes from. Ah, awesome! His band is playing this Thursday at the Stallards Inn in March on Thursday night. Starts
cool.
at 7:30. I'm going to go. Martin's in common with lots and lots of people is sort of coming back to playing the guitar and has got himself in a band and they go out and they rock.
Awesome.
And I flipping love it.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay. So if you want a fuzz face, buy a fuzz face.
Totally. It's because the nature of the impedance at the input, that's the cleanup thing.
Yeah.
And it makes all the difference in the world. If you get something like a
Big muff or a tone bender?
big buff or a tone bender, it won't do it because of that.
It doesn't do it as well. So if you're gonna get something of high quality that if you don't like it you can then sell it on, have a look on reverb.com, look out for an Analog Man Sunface, look out for a Jesse Davey King Tone Mini Fuzz. That's got a lot of nice options on it. Actually, the Dunlop Mini Fuzz.
Dunlop Mini Fuzzes.
Mini Fuzzes are great for the money, or the proper full size one. But everyone makes a really good fuzz face type. The Jam Pedals Fuzz Phrase is really excellent.
Yep.
Anytime they tell you they fixed a buffering issue, done anything to change the original fuzz face pie, as it were,
Danger, Will Robinson. A fuzz is an iceberg.
then it becomes something else, and that's fine. You might want that. Tell you what I did hear in a demo today, which blew my mind, and I'm going to try it out, was the Jam Eureka Fuzz.
Okay.
And it's a sort of marriage of silicon and germanium. So there's a bit of muff style distortion. So it's like a heavy, strong distortion, but with some germanium sort of feel in there.
Oh, wow.
So if that cleans up, that could be a great option as well. Eureka Fuzz by Jam. So
Nice.
yeah, good luck. But if in doubt, one of the mini fuzz faces by Dunlop. I actually really like the Band of Gypsies one, I think, which is like the dark blue one.
Yeah.
But yeah, good luck. Ran's there. Hello, Ran. Dear D&M and B, just wanted to mention the latest at Daniel the Gig Rig vlog with Joe and Jake should be required viewing for all TPS fans. Scintillating creativity.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, so I did a video with Jake and Joe, who are tech support at the Gig Rig, and went through their rigs. Really interesting way. So they plug into Kempers and all this stuff. But what Joe does with the Empress, what's it called? The one with all the lights on it, the buttons. Zoya, is just remarkable. And it's what I find really interesting. A lot of bass players come from a synth mindset.
Right.
And the way he utilizes that in the MIDI and everything, he just gets some really cracking tones. And then the way Jake does a bunch of really amazing MIDI stuff with his Meris Enzo and does these faux whammy things with it. It's really cool. But yeah, they play in a band called All Is a Vow and a function band as well. They've won awards and stuff called Rogues. So and they're like busy like every night. They're either rehearsing or out gigging. You know, they're those guys. And,
Lovely.
And they're just awesome guys. And I'm really glad you enjoyed it, mate. It was really fun to do. I certainly learnt a thing or two. You know, seeing how they integrated some stuff in their rigs was really good. So hopefully, we'll do some more of that.
Yeah, I'd like to. I haven't watched that. Maybe we should get them in for a show.
We could do that.
Yeah,
We could do that.
that would be nice.
Yeah.
Bring it to the wider TPS audience. Graphite and Cigar says Dan is the new captain for the upcoming TPS cruise. Can you imagine that? The glove boat.
Very good. Very good.
Oh, can you imagine us on a cruise? That would be dangerous, wouldn't it?
Oh, it'd be like both of us would not return.
Lost at sea.
Crazy Town says Dan looks exceptional. Love it. Great look. Thank you. Avasti.
There was a question here that I've... ABCDEF says, what do you think about a 432 hertz? It sounds different than 440 or indeed E flat. I actually like it. I think there's some... the guitar, certainly if you play with open strings, the harmonics feel different. I mean, mathematically they're going to be the same intervals, right? So they shouldn't really feel different, but they do.
They do.
And the way that the amp and the cabinet resonates and the way you resonate is a different thing. And it's not better, it's not worse, it's just different. One of the great things about E flat, with a Strat anyway, is it just sounds flipping huge. It just resonates in a different way. And I like 432. I think there's something... If I could be bothered, I would suggest we do in 432, but it would just upset everybody.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't be able to play along with your guitar and all that. But I like that slightly lower resonance for the same reason that a down-tuned guitar sounds great, just a lesser increment of that.
It'd be an interesting show to do. Play a few things and look up the fancy tunings and what everyone's loving, and try a few things.
Yeah. And forget about all the flipping conspiracy theories and all the technical garbage. Just forget about that and play and listen and feel.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about here, not any theory.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Moon says, smell the glove boat.
Oh, Moon.
Isn't that great?
There it is. The Smell the Glove Boat tour.
There it is. Well, that's got to happen now.
Yeah.
Surely.
Well, they all do it now, don't they? All the cruises.
We could totally make that happen.
Brian Massa does the cruise.
Yeah. We could have a TPS...
Idiots Afloat.
Bonkers Voyage.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I think that it's clear, Dan, that the opening in the universe for flow that you've created by putting on the suit is letting through some stellar ideas.
Yeah, indeed.
This is it.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
That was £50 this gag cost. Well worth every penny.
Yeah, but this was predicated 13 billion years ago at the Big Bang. Because it's the same atoms, right? Same particles.
Oh, that's funny.
It's the same particles. Don't start talking about science, please, Mick. Hello from Houston, Texas, says Dave Oshman. Hello, Dave. I bought a used G2. Holy cow. Thank you, Dan. No more need for an always-on shaping pedal. Come with a generator and all the fixings too. Awesome.
Oh,
Nice one, Dave.
thank you, man. Well done. That's great.
I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again very briefly. I can remember when Dan first did me up aboard with G2, and I just couldn't believe it. I had to take it all apart again and plug in everything separately because I didn't believe it.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. I never forget the phone call. It's like, it actually does it. I'm like, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
That was really wonderful.
Yeah. So good on you, Dave, and have fun experimenting, and hopefully you'll get to the point where it becomes second nature and you don't think about it, and it just enables you to do all this other stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Michael Giliberto. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Michael.
He says, thanks for Friday's show, D&M. It brought back memories of rigging my old parents' tube radio and phono console to serve as a guitar amp. He says, also, I saw Greg Koch recently. What can I say? The man rules. He really does.
He's so great. One of my best memories with Greg is that evening we spent in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
And
we'll always have Copenhagen.
We'll always have Copenhagen. And I remember feeling sore, like I'd done 1,000 sit-ups the night before.
Hurting.
Because we'd laughed so much. He's so great, that guy. He's so great.
Nice one, Michael. Hey Pocky Way says, D&M, first post-pandemic gig the other week.
Well done.
I saw Robert John and the Wreck in Bury. Live music, loud amps, many faces melted. Cheers from Gideon in Manchester.
How lovely.
Nice one, Gideon.
Yeah.
It's good to be among humans.
How many gigs have you done post pandemic? Yeah. You've done a few, haven't you?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe more than 10, less than 20.
Right. I've done the gigs with Andy. That's it.
Actually, it might be even a bit more than 20, but yeah, I've done a few.
I need to get some more. I need to get some more going.
It's good to play. I always find that we often get asked the question, people are maybe struggling a little bit with motivation or getting a bit fed up with, just wanting to pick the guitar up, and I find that's the cure for me.
Yeah, right.
Just go and sit in with a mate's band, or I was supposed to go and sit in with Jake Loosemore a couple of weeks ago, but I don't know, some things happened and it wasn't doable. But it's so worth it. It's so worth the effort to just do it.
Yeah, totally.
Isn't it?
Totally.
Nice one, Gideon. Scent of a wheelchair pillow, which is, again, an interesting thing to bring to mind. Says, I got a 95 Vibraverb 2x10 reissue. What are your thoughts on converting it to a 15-inch JBL? Should I do it as an extension cab? New baffle, wondering what to expect sound-wise. That is a question we have been asked before. I don't have enough experience, is the truth, to say what you would prefer. I don't even know what I would prefer.
If you get... The tricky thing is, you could put it in an extension cab and go, yeah, amazing, and then put it in the app and go, what's happened? And I've done that before, especially with... I had a... I told you my favourite 2x12 cab is this... it's this old pine thing that I bought off Dave Durban.
Oh, you mean the Marshall 2061 cab?
No. It was a Bruno cab.
Oh, Bruno, yeah,
like a little Bruno 2x12. And I remember trying things out in that, and then hearing them in a combo, going, this is complete. Sound is so different. So, but you get in the ballpark. We've had, what's the 15 we've got here? The one that Ainsley lent us.
Yeah, Vibraverb. Yeah.
The Vibraverb.
Mason's on. Hello, Mason. Or Vertex Effects is on. I'm assuming that's Mason.
And they've tried a couple of things in that we're still flapping around with, haven't really connected with either of them.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is. It's just tricky. I find I find unless you commit and try it out actually in situ,
Yeah,
you're never really going to know.
I don't know enough. I haven't played enough of them. I've played 115s and I've played 210s, and I've liked them both. I can't even remember what Ainsley's is. I think Ainsley's is a 210 with Celestian Golds maybe, and that really does sound fantastic. But Ainsley's actual 64 vintage one lived here for a little while, and it had the JBL or the Lansing speaker, that one, and some other Alnico, and I didn't like either of the speakers. So in that sense, I'm infinitely preferred, believe it or not, the modern reissue with the 210s.
Right, well.
'Cause I really didn't like either of the 15s.
Right,
So, but that's just a personal preference.
sure.
Yeah, I would be tempted to keep it stock.
Yep.
Try out some different 10s in it and make it work for you. Because the other thing is just quite a lot of hassle, which, you know, if you go through all the 10s and decide you're still not happy, then maybe that's the time to do it. But a couple of golds in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam Colson. Hello, Sam.
Hey, Sam.
I want to use the Gig Rig 321 to get my Strat and Les Paul to similar volumes hitting my board. Is this a good idea? Any advice would be greatly appreciated.
Well, so it works, but you've got to remember, so the preamps in there, you're going to end up with a low impedance signal. So as long as you're happy with that. So basically, it's like a buffer at the start of the board. So excuse me. So as long as you're happy with that and you don't have any germanium fuzzes or anything post that, then you're fine.
Could actually, depending on what your Les Paul is, it could be very nice buffered, because there are a lot of Les Pauls that sound really dark. So therefore, buffering the Les Paul, turning it down,
might actually
brighten it up and be a good.
Yeah.
The thing to know is that there will be a change.
Yeah. I mean, so I remember years ago, and where I got this idea from, there was a guitar player, actually, the kilt pedal from JHS was his signature pedal, and he used to play in a band called Delirious.
Oh, you remember Stu G?
Stu G. And he was using, we used to have one of our old switches, and he was using it, using all the post gains on it, just for his, and plugging into the loop returns,
Yeah.
just for his different guitars. So every foot switch was a guitar input. And I thought,
wow,
okay, that's really cool. You know, just to be able to balance it out like that. Because sometimes you can have a guitar that you absolutely love, but that difference is too much. So, yeah, that will absolutely work. We've got the new version of the 321 coming out, and will be here. End of April, they'll start shipping.
And what's different about that?
It has a tuner output on it. So, yeah, as you press the foot switch, if you press it, it'll just go to the next guitar. If you press and hold it, it just sends the signal out to the tuner. I mean, as soon as you tap it, the signal's out to the tuner. If you lift off quick, you go to the next input. If you just tap and hold it, then you're tuning.
Nice.
It's a very simple thing, but it works really great.
Happy days.
Yeah. Been busy.
Well, it signed me out. Obviously, it signed me out.
Of course. Of course.
Of course it signed me out. Why wouldn't it sign me out just like while I'm right in the middle of doing something really important?
Sorry, dude. You're sorry. Let's see. People were saying that David Linney said that the big tone of his Dumbles was the cab. So yeah, that's a good point. It makes a massive difference. A couple of people saying they've seen Eric Johnson play last week, and he was absolutely astounding. Which I remember seeing him in last time we were at NAMM, and he was doing a gig there, and I'd never seen him play before, and he was doing the whole of Via Musicom.
Yeah.
And he's just so special, honestly. If anyone's not seen Eric do his thing, just phenomenal. Cool. let's see. Well, this is an interesting. William Shakespeare says John Martin was able to get absolutely hammered and play like an angel. So there's obviously been a conversation going along the lines of
Can you play when you're
consumption.
drunken?
And it's something that we've often toyed with the idea of
Of putting to the test.
putting to the test.
Yeah.
Getting the sleeping bags out and going, all right, cheers, and seeing what happens at different points in the evening.
Yeah, I'm up for it. I think we get a lot of hassle from the perennially worried because you can't.
I'm past being worried about. I'm wearing this stuff now.
Yeah, no, that's
So
it.
there's nowhere else to go for me.
Yeah, for me, 2 or 3 drinks better. Any more than that, worse. Rodrigo Gaspari says, Legends, please tell us what is and describe the best looking guitar you have ever seen.
Ooh.
I saw this coming, so I've got a picture.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, wow.
These were some of D'Angelico's custom builds that had the bizarre sort of tail fin extra bit on the bottom, and I think there was one in the Scott Chinnery collection, if I'm remembering correctly. I've unfortunately only ever seen pictures of them, but certainly that one with the Lloyd Law type scroll on the top horn is just, it would be a jazz guitar for me, and
Right.
and coming in a close second is one of the carved tops that Bill Collings made.
Okay.
They're jazz guitars. They're just beyond imagination for me.
The most beautiful guitar I've ever seen was an acoustic. It was a Collings
Oh wow!
years ago. Remember that there was the guitar show and there was a side hall of acoustic guitars.
Those weirdos over there.
Exactly. They were delegated to
Yeah.
over there. And there was the Collings area and there was this black acoustic guitar. And like from a distance, it just caught my eye. And I'm like, what is going on there? And I walked over to it and I don't even know how to describe it, but you look at the finish and it was black, right?
Yeah.
But every grain of the top sort of, it was almost iridescent coming
Oh,
through the
wow.
finish, and I was
Okay.
I'm like, I was having an absolute crisis, and I said to your mate
Doug.
Doug, I said, "Oh, this is stunning," and he's like, "Yeah, I think that one's sold, and there's like a crazy wait list for it." But it was still to this day the most beautiful guitar I've ever held in person.
Oh,
I think Tal Farlow, his signature, when I saw him play his guitar with the twirl and stuff in it, it's like the
Yeah,
scroll,
beautiful.
I should say. It's like, ah, man.
It was the guitar auction today at Gardner Hallgate, and I've managed to forget that. Or it was the 6th. Is that today? The 6th? Yeah, I think it's today and tomorrow maybe. And I managed to forget. I usually watch it and see what goes. But they had one of those. Is it Barney Kessel with the dual cutaways? The big Gibson with the dual pointed cutaways.
Barney Kessel had that, and also there was another one. But yes, the Barney Kessel one.
Yeah, yeah. Tim Lurch is saying, I think Collings calls that dog hair black. I think that might be something different, Tim. That's where they do the white filler and they don't fully remove it, or at least they sand it flat and then they put translucent black over the top. I think you're talking about wood grain through
It was
black,
a
aren't
wood
you?
grain through the black.
Yeah,
I
so
just,
like a
I just
trans black.
never seen a finish like it. Because it wasn't like a light stain. It was black, and yet the grain was. It was really hard to describe. Never seen a finish like it. It was just
I'd
extraordinary.
love to show you one of Bill's archtops one day. They're just
I dare not play one.
they're just beyond. Yeah, it's a different game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Apologies. I got logged out, so I have logged back in. Eagle Ray Rob. Hello, Rob.
G'day,
and
mate.
Thank you for your continued support, Rob. He says, first of all, thank you for all the content and hard work. Maintaining a quality show in an attention deficit disposal world isn't easy. How would we know? He says, thinking of buying a 115 cab with an EV15L. Thoughts or experience? It's mad you say that. I was Googling. I saw an old marketing photo of the Mark series Boogies, and one of my favourite amps of all time was the Mark III.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Gibson who now owns Mesa Boogie, and they obviously must control their social media. Anyway, there was a picture of the catalogue that I used to have and flick through like every day going... And they did a 115 Wicker Mark III.
No way.
There's one on Reverb at the moment. It's $7,000. It's too much money, but I think that would be a great shout, Rob, and it would work with your 2-Rock brilliantly well, I think.
Yeah, right.
And pretty much anything else. Why not? Why wouldn't you have that?
Yeah.
Have it vis-a-vis the conversation earlier about the 2 speakers that Ains had in his Vibreverb. By far the best sounding one I've heard is a 115 EV for me personally. I would prefer it to pretty much any other 15-inch speaker I've heard.
Right.
But they're so rare.
Are they crazy power handling? Are they like a PA speaker?
It's a 15-inch version of the EV12M, I think.
Right.
But 15-inch, I think. I mean, it certainly sounds like that to me.
Right.
Let us know how you get on, Rob.
Yeah. Dave Johnson says piano black. I think it was something like that. And French polished or something, but just silly. It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Steve Salazar says, doesn't Brad Paisley use 15s?
He might do. Last time I interviewed him was a long time ago. It was on stage at the O2 in London.
Nice.
And he had a couple of things. He had his Dr. Z amps with 212 cabs.
The Stingray, is that what you're using?
I can't remember. There's so many different ones
Right.
I can't remember.
Right.
He had 2 of those, and he also had 2 plexis actually,
Wow.
running 212 cabs as well for the clean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's all in Guitarist magazine. Jack Taylor guitar. This will be a quick answer, Jack, because the full answer is long. But you say, can you explain the benefits of using a loop switcher? Let's list them, Dan.
So, no more tap dancing, as in turning one pedal off, turning another pedal on. You don't need to do that because you can pre-program them. You are completely bypassing every pedal that you're not using, so you don't get any tone suck from all that.
Functional stuff, tonal stuff. The tonal stuff is subjective. The functional stuff is whether it works for you or not. One of the main benefits for me is you can shrink quite a big pedal board to be smaller, even though you've got the loop switcher on it, because you can stack the pedals in under your pedal board and really close together and all of that, functionally.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got 2 or 3 pedals, there's negligible benefit in using a loop switcher.
Yeah.
Depending on what those pedals are, because, as Dan was hinting, the reason he came up with it in the first place was something that he termed, I don't know, tone suck. The switch, the circuitry of that pedal, the very act of sending a signal through it has an effect on your tone, whether it's increased capacitance, whether it's a change in how the switch makes it sound. And if you've got some pedals that are non-true bypass, for example, some old wah-wahs, tube screamers, various things, and they detrimentally affect your tone, again, which is subjective, putting them in a loop switcher gets rid of that. If you add 3 or 4 of those pedals together, the tone suck is massive. And sticking them in a loop switcher, doing what Dan just said, in terms of being able to completely bypass them, you will be astounded the difference that it can make. Astounded. So some tonal, some practical. The tonal is always subjective. We both prefer it by some magnitudinous measure. You might not. Functionality is, does it make sense for you or not?
Yeah. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of things like swapping order and parallel signal paths and blah blah blah. That's, you know, further down that functionality thing. I think, but they were the big ones for me. Like, and I was using back in the day, which got me thinking about it, I was using a lot of vintage pedals, which just have the worst bypass stuff. And yeah, so that was important. If you're doing, I was also playing a lot of complicated music and I needed fast changes. And so, yeah, it facilitates all that as well. I think it's worthy, because we do get asked about that, and I'm reticent to do a show on it. But maybe we can do a show and not.
We should maybe get someone else's switcher
and deal
in
with
and
that.
use that as well, so it's not just an ad. But there are considerable benefits if you need those benefits. But if you don't need them, if you use 3 pedals and you're quite happy turning them on and off, and you're quite happy with the sound, then you don't need it.
Yeah.
But if you find yourself wanting to turn 2 things off and 1 thing on, or you're finding that you are getting tone suck, then that's where it starts to make sense.
Yeah. And nailing that stuff down is like, it can be tricky. But we'll explore it a bit, and I can spew out the stuff.
Jason Thompson. Hello, Jason. He says, Leggins, can't believe I hadn't listened to Grace. Grace by Jeff Buckley. I did 4 times this weekend. My 16-year-old son came in and I put on Forget Her. He said, those spicy chords, I love it. Reminds me of Radiohead. Proud dad moment, thank you. Yeah, so Forget Her wasn't on the original release of Grace. Mm-hmm. And I'd never heard it until a couple of years ago.
Right.
Because I've only got the original vinyl and the original CD.
Right.
So for me...
Is that one that came out at My Sweetheart the Drunk, I think?
It was on a legacy edition of Grace, I think.
Okay.
I mean, a long time ago now. So I'm not super familiar with that track. Do you know it?
So my daughter loves that one as well.
Okay.
And she's like, and I was like... And I knew it, but I didn't know that the legacy edition.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, man... I've got sad stories about Jeff, but anyway, that was when Grace came out and OK Computer came out, my world sort of pivoted on its access.
Seminal record.
Yeah.
It's right up there with any other record you can mention as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, just astonishing.
In terms of its importance.
Yeah.
Good on you, and a nice discovery, Jason. Even better that you like it. He says, also, I'm doing my first G3 pedal board for a customer.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Really an awesome unit. Had a question and Jake got me sorted.
Oh, brilliant. They're good boys. They're very good boys.
Have a really good play with it, Jason, while you got it there if you can. It's flipping astonishing. And he said, what's your favourite song on Grace, Dan?
It's so tricky. So, Grace, I love... It's such an interesting... I don't know if I get that. That's like, where does that come from?
And is it played like that, or it's not? That's not a delay.
No.
Mine's Love You should have come over, by the way.
Yeah, that. And you see him do it. It's like, and
he's picking it.
It's like,
does he pick it?
Yeah.
He doesn't finger it.
Picks it.
Yeah.
But then what was it? Oh.
Dream Brother.
So
Matthew Parker says, did I just tune into Jaws or what? We are going to need another boat. People have been calling Dan Captain Birdseye, Matthew. So
I've decided to embrace it.
Yeah.
So we did a gig back in the day. Tin Spirits used to do some gigs supporting Marillion. And then we did a version of Dream Brother, and H from Marillion got up and sang it. And we'll just never forget it. It was just wonderful. But it's such a great album. And obviously that version of his version of Leonard Cohen's version of Hallelujah. I mean, it should have ended there.
It's been destroyed for me, that song,
but
unfortunately.
it should have stopped
yeah,
there.
because there've been so many bad covers
Yeah,
of it.
yeah. But yeah, if you don't know the song, if you don't know the album,
So what
it's
is your favourite
remarkable.
song after all that?
Yeah, I'd say I'm gonna have to go with Dream Brother.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I love that. I love that. You know, that just awesome.
And it's so, the dynamic on the record is something you just don't hear on records anymore. Well, I sound a bit old fartist. You hear much less on records before. Everything's now kind of, it's there all the time, especially in pop music. But in that, the dynamic range, think about something like Eternal Life. It's just, man, thank you for mentioning it, Jason. It's such a seminally important record and immersive.
John W777 goes, look at this scar, Thresher Shark. What did he say? I got that beat here. No, Mary Jane, she broke my heart. Yeah, it's great, so good.
Dan Crow. Hello, Dan. Dan Crow says, question from Friday's show. Could I use 2 studio monitors and a small watt tube amp to run a wet, dry, wet for home use? Does not have to be able to hit gig volumes. Love the show.
As long as the studio monitors are powered,
Yeah, great way
then
to do it.
absolutely.
That's a mini version of how people, including Larry Carlton and Robin Ford, used to do it. They'd mic the amp, send it out to a little mixer, and go through 2 PA speakers for their wet sounds, which is a sort of recreation of how the post effects was done in the studio. So absolutely you can. Also worth checking out, I don't know if they still make it, but Laney used to make a product specifically for that called the IRTX, I think it was called.
Right.
And it was a powered, full range flat response little amp specifically for that purpose.
Oh, wow.
For doing wet dry.
Wow.
wet, dry, wet.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
another company. It'll come to me, but they do like a powered guitar speaker with like D-class amps in it that you can do that with as well. Comet.
Oh, with a K.
K.
Comment. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
K-O-M-E-T. Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck, Dan. Steve Mass. Hello, Steve. Hope you're doing okay. He says, this may have been asked before, but can you each share some thoughts on the best, worst, or most memorable gig you have ever played?
Ever played?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember did a gig with Max Sharam at the Suncourt Stadium in Brisbane, which was, I'll never forget that one. That was really amazing. That was the end, and that was at the end of a long tour, and we were just firing. The band was absolutely firing. It's like, so those, they're really fun. Playing with Andy Timmins, I'll never forget being on stage with him for the first time, looking over going, this is actually happening. I'm on stage and I'm playing guitar with Andy Timmins, and I was waiting for him to pick up a mic stand and bash me with it, but it didn't happen, so I got through it. I've done some shockers, absolute shockers. I remember we used to play the Walkabout in Cardiff, and there was a big football match on or something. And we had a bunch of very inebriated, very angry football guys set up right in front of me and Doug. And they were just horrific. That was the whole start of my jiu-jitsu thing. It's like, I'm never going to feel that way again.
Okay.
And that's good. It's weird because I've had some great gigs in there, but that was a gig that was just sort of like, you know what, this is really unsafe because it was so packed.
Yeah.
And they had like 3 staff on.
Yeah, that's
And there's
scary,
nothing
isn't
that
it?
you can do.
When you realise
know.
the situation is beyond any reasonable control, you need to be in a different headspace at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a few of those where fights kick off and stuff.
Yeah,
we used to play one place
them.
in South Wales, the Newbridge Memorial Hall, I think it was called, and it actually genuinely had chicken wire in front of the stage.
Right. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, let's not talk about bad gigs because we've all had bad gigs, and that would include, feeling like you've played badly, or
I've never had that.
where the sound is so bad you just come away feeling awful.
Yeah.
So forget
of
that.
course.
They're best consigned to the annals of history. Memorable. I mean, Dan talked about Andy, so I'll talk about Joey. And it's such a weird place to be because Joey is such a good friend of ours.
Yeah.
For him also to be a hero is slightly weird.
Yeah.
And you sort of have to get into two brains about it. And playing with him and singing with him, actually. Playing and singing
Those
with him.
singing harmonies for Joey.
We're singing 3-part
Just-
harmony,
Oh,
belting
man.
it out at flipping 110 dB, and it's sounding like music.
It doesn't get any better.
It will be tough to top that.
Yeah.
Not that it's about topping it, but that was great. Most memorable, I think. Still, I'm maybe 13 or 14 years old, and our band's just getting off the ground. 14 probably by this point. Got me yellow strap that's hung up on the wall there, and we're playing the Shepton Mallet Showground, which for those of you who whatever, it's where the Bath and West show is. And so it's in the main auditorium bit, and there's loads of people in there. And on the bill is the Wurzels, and the Wurzels are topping the bill, obviously. And we're
I got a brand new combine harvester.
Somehow
I'll
these
give you the key.
boys aged between 14 and 16, dressed in kind of denim and playing blues and soul, get to support the Wurzels.
Wow.
And it's the first big gig I'd ever done. And backstage, I've told this story before, so apologies, I'll speed up. Pete, the guy who was the singer of the Wurzels at that time, said, he looked at me, he said, "You nervous, son?" And I was like, "Yes, Mr. Wurzel, I am." Anyway, he said, "Well, I got some advice for you, son. When I get nervous, there's something I say which helps." And anyway, he then, I can't say it because we'll get demonetised.
Right.
Imagine the F word.
Yep.
And he's like, and we'll say fiddle
Yep.
instead of that word. And he says, "What works for me is I just go out there and say, fiddle 'em."
Probably worse than the other one.
Yeah, not that kind of fiddle. This kind of fiddle. Quick retraction. How did Beyonce's song get released?
No, I don't know.
Anyway,
she owns
so-
all that stuff anyway, doesn't she?
I'm forever thankful to Pete for that and the Wurzels. And again, I've told this before, but I'm just going to say it again. The icing on that particular cowpat-shaped cake was the bass player had Fender make him a precision in the shape of a Frisian cow, so it had udders and everything.
Oh, that's magic.
I can remember being sat there with my Strat. I probably had a 50-watt Yamaha transistor amp at that time, or I might have just got my first toy.
It wasn't the stereo one, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, I had a stereo Yamaha transistor amp that
Nice.
I put two Black Shadow speakers in.
Ah.
It was fantastic.
No, mine was on with a pull distortion circuit.
Nice.
I might have just got my first twin at that point.
Right.
Anyway, I'm forever grateful. Looking at the Wurzels and thinking, if ever I can have a Frisian cow shaped precision bass, that would be it.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it was a sheltered upbringing. What's the old gag? All I can remember from my young days was bleach. It was a disinfected childhood.
That's very good.
Happy with
That's
that?
very good.
Happy with that? Yeah. Yeah.
John W777 says Andy Rules had the best sound a couple of weeks ago. 2 Rock custom reverb and a Lone Star. Yeah.
That'll do.
Nice. Yep, that'll do it.
Oh, he's got a interesting. So he's got his 2 Rock, has he? So that's sort of our fault because he came here and he played mine and he was like, "Oh,
Oh heavens. Yeah.
yeah, that's good. It's nice for the ripples.
Yeah. It was lovely.
Nice for the ripples. David Rustad. Hello, David.
Hey,
nice to hear
David.
from you. He says, fuzz tones. Here's a show idea. Fuzz tones with no fuzz pedal. I use a Broadcast and a Jupiter Effects Jive for this. Others, including Doug March, of Built to Spill, use 3 stacked EP boosts. Middle position with the tone all the way off helps. That is a great idea.
Mm-hmm. It's very good.
Yeah. And funnily enough, Dan and I have talked about this a little bit in recent weeks and months by saying that some of the tones we've been getting are almost fuzzy by doing something along the lines of what you're suggesting.
Like plugging into a TV.
But also, I think part of the relevance is fuzzes are such finicky beasts and such a pain to have on your board because, you know, they can sound fantastic one day and the next day just sound like toilet. But actually, if you stack up a bunch of overdrives and you get close to it, I like this. Yeah, thank you for the suggestion.
Yeah,
how am I going to remember that?
I put it on the list.
Yeah.
Fuzz, no fuzz.
Oh, bless you, David. You've said I hate typos. Hudson Broadcast or Jupiter Drive for fuzz with no fuzz. Fuzzy drives like the Walrus 385, Reeves Leo, and Greer Soma 63.2. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, like it. Like it.
Raf Freitas says, "Hi DNM, how do you handle humidity levels in that room and at home? I store my guitars in their cases in the basement, but winter can get pretty dry."
Ooh, that is interesting because there's an optimum level, right?
Yeah, it's not really it's not so much of an issue in the UK because we have relatively higher.
It's always damp.
Yeah,
Everything's always moist.
we have relatively higher humidity. Most guitar makers, it's more of a thing in acoustic guitar. Most guitar makers will tell you that dry is much worse than wet.
When I was studying, we had a lot of classical players, and their cases. Some of the cases would have a moisture meter,
Yeah,
and then a humidity meter. And if it was too humid, they'd have those gel packs.
yeah,
And if it wasn't humid enough, some of them would leave like half an apple in the case.
oh, okay.
But there was one of the classical teachers there was in an orchestra where there's a guy who played double bass and he didn't take the proper care of his double bass. And imagine the amount of tension that's on those strings of a double bass.
Yeah,
One day, so you've got the pin that comes out of the double bass and the bridge hooks around that pin, right?
oh yeah, I didn't know that. But
Right?
Yeah,
So all the tension from those strings is around that hook.
yeah.
And apparently they were at rehearsal one day, and where that hook was, it was his bass had been too dry for too long, and it snapped off, and that stuff came up, and it really damaged his hand.
Oh,
Just
wow.
Like, whip.
God.
Yeah,
'Cause
so
it just broke.
It just
yeah.
snapped off, and just spun up, and like
So keeping your guitars, particularly acoustic instruments, is really important because
Yeah.
if the woods dry out, they crack and shrink, and that's much harder to deal with than if they get a little bit too wet and bow and bloat. On electric guitars, usually the worst thing is the truss rod moves a bit or the fingerboard can shrink when it gets dry and the fret ends will start poking out the end of the fingerboard. Here in the UK, certainly in our experience anyway, it's not so much of a big deal because we have relatively good humidity or higher humidity. But certainly in other parts of the world, it can get very dry, and you're right, the best place for it is in the case. And if you need to add some humidity via an in-case humidifier, there's plenty of those available from, I don't know, anyone from D'Addario to, there's a good one called Oasis, which I always used to use for my acoustics
right.
when I was paranoid about these things. That said, my Collings, high-end, delicately made acoustic guitar sits on a guitar stand at home, and in that home there is central heating, a fire, all kinds of things, and it goes from, I don't know, maybe 4 degrees in that room to 24
Yeah.
regularly,
Yeah.
and it's fine.
Yeah. And so, as is mine. That's
So
yeah.
yeah. Josh Connett, we
Hello,
believe
Josh.
you have to go soon, so you're next. Josh, we're not doing it because you'll have to go soon. You actually are next. Josh, he says, any tips on a cheapish way to get Zeppelin Plexitone? I have a Mesa Mark V, a DSL 40, a hot rod. And what about pedal ideas? Thank you, from San Diego.
San Diego. The meaning has been lost over time. There's a pedal from our mate Teddy from True Fire Effects, which is a take on the tone bender,
Zoe.
the Zoe. And that's very cool. It's interesting, right? Because are you talking specifically about the live recordings? Because in the studio, he could plug just into the desk and turn it up. So, if you're talking about the live recordings, and I've heard some absolutely astonishing live recordings, but he was also using a bunch of other amps as well.
Yeah. I mean, if you just mean great riffing, do you mention a song? No. If it's just great riffing, it is just a great guitar into a cranked amp, and it might have been a Telly, or it might have been a Lester, depending on which thing you're talking about. But of course, you see him live with the Lester, and that's what you associate it with, and those live tones are maybe what you're after. So certainly Echoplex.
Yeah.
In the front end.
Yep.
To warm it up and give a bit of boost.
Yep.
So that could help, and that's a very Jimmy Page sort of sound. It's a classic guitar cranked is what it is, and that is the hardest thing to replicate at low volume.
It's very tricky.
Because what happens at high volume is, in my opinion anyway, at low volume you're tempted to push the gain to get the sustain. And then it just ends up sounding like a fizzy mess. Even though you might have the sustain, you don't get the power and the punch. What volume brings is the feedback loop of guitar, speakers, sustain, harmonics, all the extra stuff that's created in that loop. So you don't need as much gain.
Right.
And it sounds heavy, even though it's not quite as gainy.
Yeah.
Or it might be gainy, but because it's loud, it doesn't sound fizzy, because the volume and the girth and everything that's under there to support it is kind of removing the fizz aspect.
Right.
Even though if you have ever plugged any guitar into a plexi and cranked it, it's Fizz City. There is a tremendous amount of high-end histrionic going on there if you crank it properly. So yeah, tough. Plenty of companies make plexi-style pedals. Pedal Pal Effects do a great one. Captain Bread, Dirty Little Secret. There's all kinds of things that sort of emulate that sound. It is very hard to do it at low volume, isn't it?
To get that thing that everyone loved about his sound is one of those tricky things. But again, I think a couple of people said like which specific sound. Super Black Magic, and that's an amp that he used a lot, but certainly in the studio. But yeah, when the recordings I've heard of him live with cranked Marshalls, you put a tone bender into a cranked Marshall with a Les Paul in it.
Yeah.
It's hard to get that wrong.
Saeed Lewis says Zevex Box of Rock. Yes.
Really great.
Unreservedly, but again, sounds great when it's cranking a bit.
Arr.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Funky Monk says, what's Captain Birdseye doing here?
Captain Birdseye Maple. Arr.
If you don't mind.
Indeed.
He was summoned. If you say Captain Birdseye 3 times, he just appears.
Yeah, I'm just embracing it. We had I was off last week, and we had a number of people say, "Where is Captain Birdseye?" Here I am.
Here he is.
In full.
Good luck, Josh. I'm sorry if that's not very much help. You're going to get closest to it out of your DSL 40, I would have thought. But you know what? No one believes us. Hot Rod Deluxe does a pretty good crank Marshall sound if you get it right.
Yeah, I've had that at the office this week.
Yeah.
Turned up. You know what? It's great.
Yeah, I've heard Bonamassa sound very Marshally through one of those. Greg Antonowicz or Antonowitz. Hi, Greg. He says hi from New York. Dan and Mick. No, not New York. Hi from New Hampshire.
Oh,
USA. Dan
nice.
And Mick. Do you know the difference between a Les Paul Classic versus a Standard? I've always wondered. My Les Paul Classic with Duncan Seth Lover 55s and bare knuckle pots is Ace. I don't, I'm afraid.
No.
Because Gibson has changed so much over the years and the things they do on the guitars have changed. One thing to check. Let's have a look. So just looking at pictures, the classics seem to have uncovered humbuckers.
Okay.
So you see the zebra coils. I don't know if that's the case on was the case on yours. Yeah, so it's stripped down basically. Mahogany body, maple top. Weight relieved using Gibson's renowned 9-hole method. Okay. So that could be part of it. Over the years, Gibson has done various things. So the mahogany slab that makes up the bulk of the guitar's body can be very heavy. And over the years, Gibson has done various things to reduce the weight. Just drill dirty great holes in it, basically, to take some of the mass away.
You've done that.
Yeah. And they call that weight relieving. And it might be that on some, I'm pretty sure some standards have had it as well, but it might be on the classic, they've defined what that is. So that could be part of it. Could
The
be
studio's chambered or something as well, isn't it?
Not necessarily.
No? Okay.
The trouble with Gibson is it's always not necessarily, because they might do that for that period and then that for that period and then that for that period. So,
Okay. Gareth Johnson says classic has ceramic pickups.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. PFD Darkside says yes, 500T bridge, because maybe on the standards. I mean, there was a point where standards had ceramic pickups as well. I had a early mid 90s standard, and that had ceramic pickups. So
Right.
I don't know. Yes, I would suggest the Gibson Forum is probably the place for that,
Yeah.
or the Les Paul Forum. Those guys really know their stuff.
They do.
But if you like, thing is, if you like it, happy days. I think Danish Pete had a Gold Top Classic, which was a great guitar.
Right.
Really great guitar.
That Lester he's got now, though. That's just amazing.
It's in the same category as that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, yeah. Nice one, Greg. So maybe some combination of weight relief, maybe the pickup choices. And I don't know if anything's less complex, like the way the neck is bound or anything like that. It sounds like it's a, in no negative sense, a stripped down, no frills, all filler, no killer. All killer, no filler. The other way around. All killer, no filler option. Someone else will know a better answer. G-Barge. Hello,
G'day,
G.
G.
He says, gents, on the subject of hats, may I quote my grandfather? Where there's a clearing, there's civilization.
That's very good. That's very good.
If we're voting, mine is for the fedoras, Dan, for the panache.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to mix it up.
I always hear those wind chime things that you see the bald dude, Ray.
Liotta.
No, he was, if you watch Sting or Clapton or any of those era artists on stage at Live Aid or Wembley, he was
Right.
always the percussionist.
Okay.
Ray, someone will tell me.
Parker Jr.
And every time he does that with the wind chimes,
Right.
when I hear the word panache, that's what I hear in my head. It's like panache.
Specsavers audiologist, maybe. Have a look.
Stephen Harden. Hi, Stephen.
Hey, Stephen.
Your super chat hasn't come through, but I think BV has sent it to me because BV is the best. Oh, the auction's not until the 8th. Great.
Oh, okay, cool.
Thanks, BV.
Hurrah.
Stephen Harden. He has put another Q in the super chat. Q coming up in list.
Ray
Okay,
Cooper.
we'll find
Everyone's
it. Ray
saying.
Cooper. Thank
Ray
you.
Cooper.
Thank you. Mike 2203.
Hello, Mike.
Would the new governor pedal sound better than my Mark I governor made in Korea? Also, are the 4 new Marshall pedal reissues digital or analog? They are analog. They are apparently component for component. more or less, apart from the pots.
Right.
The same as the originals.
Wow.
When you say Mark I governor made in Korea, do you mean Mark II? Is
One of the Mark
it
ones.
one of the little gold ones, as opposed to one of the big?
I think that, but they did some Far East manufacture of the originals, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, there you go. Made in Korea.
There you go.
My apologies, Mike.
So I would say, so
Here, how angry it is.
I can totally
What's this?
tell me what it
A
is.
terrorist.
That's very good. That's very good.
Although you have got to be careful. You can't say that word anymore.
Right.
We'll probably have the FBI will be knocking the door down in a minute.
Yep. So, will it sound better? I'm going to go out there and say, probably not. As in, I think there'll be much of a muchness. It all depends on, what are they, 80, mid-80s?
Yeah, into the early 90s,
Yeah.
certainly.
So, say 25, up to 25 years old, that,
Component drift.
well, yeah, but whether or not,
Dirty.
maybe dirty pots, and it might be that you've got one that sounds specifically a certain way, and a resistor may have drifted. Who knows? But that sort of period of time, it's really not going to make that much difference. 30 plus years, electric lytic caps, broken down to a point, maybe, but component for component, they'll be using the same circuit boards, the same layout. I mean, layout is the big thing for me. I would say if you've got an original, you're set.
Yeah. So I was laughing because do you remember Rick Mayall, may he rest in peace? Rick Mayall of many things, but of Bottom and of the Young Ones. And there's an episode of the Young Ones where he's washing his Y fronts. And he says, you know what they say, clean pants, dirty potty. And I was thinking clean rag, dirty potty is what I was thinking. Or dirty pants, clean botty, I think might have been the quote.
That's brilliant. Oh, man. Oh, that was a great show.
I know, that era of British comedy will never be eclipsed, I don't think.
No. Oh, no. Because they could say stuff.
Well, it also wasn't just about shock factor, it was generally funny, genuinely funny.
Totally.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't. They sound like old farts now. If the cap fits.
Arr.
Nice one, Mike. Enjoy that. Guitar Moog. Speaking of Moog, I still don't have my ring modulator. I've asked for Fairfield Circuitry if they'll send us their one. And just trying to find some others at the moment for the show on ring mods.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Still trying to find a Moog, but they're all too expensive.
I told you that we had the guys from Idols in,
Yeah.
and he pulled out the ring mod and was like, it was so silly good. It was like, of all, I've heard a bunch of ring mods, and that thing was silly good.
Yeah, man. Stephen Harden says, where is Dan's U-boat parked? It's a bit Das Boot, isn't it?
So maybe Captain Birdseye was a defector.
How dare you?
How dare I? That beloved
Better than
aquatic.
better than a defecator, I suppose. Hi from Brussels, says Guitar Moog. When I retube an amp or get it back from repair, it never sounds quite how I remember when it was new. Are valve amps just inherently non-constant over time, or is it my perception? It's both.
It's both. So it depends on, bias is everything. Input voltage is everything with the bias as well.
Oh, it is Moog. Sorry, Guitar Moog, as in Will-O the Wisp, not as in Bob. So
Oh, okay.
apologies, Guitar Moog.
It also it massively depends on the amp. So I had a really interesting thing with my old AC30, and I had, when I bought it, it had the original valves in it. It was like, these things are unreal, instead of old Mullards. Whether they're not original, but they were from the era, right? 61.
The new originals.
The new originals, and then they came back. Yeah. So, and it was like, it was amazing. And I then revalved it and got, really nice new valves. It was like, this is way off. And, the headroom had gone. It was really unusual. So then started looking into it. It turns out that the old Vox has got a 50 ohm cathode bias resistor. Back in the day, the valves that they were making, they could take that all day long. But the modern valves can't. However, swap that resistor to an 80 ohm resistor and put a set of JJs in there. And it's not the same, but it's so close.
Yeah.
It's
great.
It's unreal. So, if you're dealing with a vintage amplifier, checking out the valves that it's been made for, even if the amp that you've got is based on a vintage circuit, checking out that bias and is really important.
Yes. So are they inherently non-constant over time? Yes, for lots of reasons. Wear on components, etc., etc. Also, the valves themselves are, analog devices, right?
Yeah.
So they're never going to work quite the same. They're moving electrons around.
Yeah.
And the design of the grids, the plates, oh my goodness me, it's just multiple variables, isn't it? The state of the vacuum in there, all the rest of it, unless they don't work in anything less than a perfect vacuum. Don't know. But it's a physical process.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they're never going to sound quite the same. That's one thing. And then there's this sort of paradox of experience, which is the only way you will ever hear a true difference is if you truly A/B them.
Yeah.
Like that. Because once you put in any brain time in between those two things, your memory has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get all sorts of cognitive bias coming in. And, who knows, your ears, I don't know about you, but I'll maybe mix some audio at the end of a day, come back, listen to it the next morning, and my ears are different. They're different.
Yeah.
They're tired, they lose high end, they lose low end, whatever. Your perception changes, and whether it's your ears, your brain, or whatever, your perception changes. So that's one thing. The only way to ever really hear it is A/B. The reason I say it's a paradox is because you do become used to things over time, and I think you can sense things that are much harder to describe in words or write down or explain, which become experiential. The experience of knowing something. So if something changes in your rig, you'll kind of know it rather than be able to quite put your finger on it.
Yeah.
So it might be that, but yes, they do change, and I think it's something you just got to live with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the only amps we ever revalve are the ones that get cranked all the time.
Yeah.
Anything with EL84s, because they seem to wear the quickest, especially in the Voxes. So our EL84 tubes get changed. I'm thinking of changing the tubes in the Deluxe Reverb because it gets hammered on 10 for an hour every experience day, and periodically in between that. But all our other amps, run at sort of 50-60% maybe, and I don't feel the need to change valves in certainly big EL34s and 6L6s.
Yeah.
So only if you hammer them, I think they really need changing.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck, mate.
You were laughing, Dan.
Oh, no.
Tell me why you were laughing.
David Evans says, I just got here. What the F?
I'm biased, says Jonathan Harvey. We all are. Here's something for you all to think about. Motivated cognition is the standard form of
You
understanding.
need some music while we have mixed moments.
Oh, I don't need to say any more than that.
No.
Welcome to Philosophy Corner with Mick. I'd just like to point out that the mode of human existence to date is based on motivated cognition. We are all biased all the time. See you next week. David, it's Captain Birdseye Maple, obviously, just in case you didn't get that.
Never dare me to do anything.
Yeah. Jim B. Sat on the sloop, Jim B. Hi from Akron, Ohio. I've recently found the style of guitar that suits me best. It's a Tele stroke Les Paul Special Planks. How long did it take for you? I'm 52. You must be nearly 52, are you?
September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan is 51 and a half.
Arr.
I am 48 and I'm be 49 in a few days.
So I discovered Telecasters in 2000. It's 2000 or 2001, around then. And it's not that the Telecaster suited me. I made a conscious decision because I had a 64 Strat that got stolen in Australia, and I got a gig that night. A friend of mine brought his Telecaster, and I played it, and I sounded like an absolute moron. And it's because I didn't have any vibrato. All the vibrato I had was here. I'm playing out and go, and I started to do this, and it's like, and I just sounded, I was like, you know what? If I can't make a musical noise out of something as simple as this, I don't want to do it. So, and since then, for the last, 20 plus years, it's been a Telecaster journey. Now, I love all my other guitars. And I've got guitars with tremolos and stuff on it and Bigsby's, and they're all amazing. But there are moments on a Telecaster that I have, because it's such a simple thing, where I feel more connected with this guitar than others. So I didn't pick up a Telecaster and go, oh, this guitar is amazing, this is the best guitar in the world. It was like, I need to be able to say what I want to say on something as simple as this. Nice.
I was just providing background music.
It was beautiful. I loved it.
Yeah,
Loved it.
For me, it just sort of happens by osmosis, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When I was younger, I didn't have access to a lot of guitars like most people. So you play the guitar you have, and that's what you get used to. And that forced limitation means you have to learn how to use it. So the guitar I learned how to use the most was one of these. And I can do anything on this.
You can.
Sound-wise, anyway.
Lots of people commenting on your
pretty much.
astonishing playing into the Fillmore Sound app on the weekend.
Oh, that's very kind.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it was.
When the sound's good,
When
you
the
play
sound's
better.
good.
It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
as simple as that.
It's not hard, is
it's
it?
not hard. It's not hard, Mac. Come on, spill. AC/DC. So yeah, and I just learned how to do the stuff I need to do on this. And then what happens is you do get into a position where you can get more guitars. And you then try to do all the things you do on this on those other guitars, and it
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
So then you have to learn what those other guitars do. And now, if I'm going to go and play a loud gig, it will be one of these for 90% of the time, because I know how to drive it. If I'm going to be doing recording, playing quietly, something else, it's almost certainly likely to be a Gibson,
Yeah, wow.
because it's just easier to drive at low volume.
Right.
I find.
Yeah.
That is a bit of a reduction in the actual fact of the matter.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but you also, I remember when the Gold Top first turned up,
Oh yeah, actually,
and it was like, you played that, you recorded with that all the time. It's like,
yeah.
I couldn't believe the clean tones you were getting out of
To be
it.
fair, last two gigs I've played half the gig on that guitar.
Right, yeah,
So
unreal.
yeah, it's a combination, isn't it? But in terms of revelations, Dan and I are both with you on the Planky Junior style thing.
Yeah.
I came to that much later. I didn't get my first Junior until maybe 2010, 12, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so appealing. Dan, same with his 61.
Yeah. As Mr. Baker says, it's how I found my piece of driftwood.
But yeah, no, I can't get away from this thing. These things. Doesn't really matter which one it is.
Yeah. Gee, oh man, that guitar. Every time.
It's bonkers.
Oh, it's.
It was very nice to hear Danish Pete playing it the other day.
I want to shout out to Danish Pete just quickly. I've seen so many videos, and I've been up. You know, we went to Italy with him, and you know, and we love him. He's such a good mate. And we're in here watching him film with the captain R, and I'm like, far out, you are an incredible guitar player.
He's an amazing guitar player.
It's like you forget because you see a lot of him doing his thing, but actually stop for a second, just listen to what he plays. It's like, oh my goodness. Yeah, unreal. So sending much love to Danish Pete. He's yeah, amazing. So lovely to
that
hear
video
him do his
might
thing.
be this Friday or it might be the following Friday. I haven't quite decided yet. We've got one. In fact, why don't you guys decide? We've got one video which is the PolyFX Flat 5, the Automaton Mark II,
And the Kernam Ridge.
and the Kernam Ridge, where Dan and I get progressively closed in trying to understand how they all work and getting some good sounds, actually, some really nice sounds. There's that, or there's Danish Pete and the Captain. You tell us what you want and we'll make that the next video.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love it.
Stephen Harden. Hello, Stephen. He says, hey, Legends. Recently got an amp with an effects send and return. So a loop. Problem is, my gainy pedals, like fuzz, sound bad. Should I put them through the input and the chorus delay through the FX send and return?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't. Yeah. So the send and return is post preamp of the amplifier. The traditional way of setting it up is that your gain pedals, your overdrives, compressors, anything that adds volume or distortion goes in front of the amplifier, which goes into the input, into the preamp, and then after the preamp, time-based things. Now, it depends on the amplifier whether or not, if you've got like an analog chorus, it might not work in the loop because then it might be too much signal. I prefer analog modulations in the front, but sometimes if you've got enough headroom, they can sound fine in a loop. But, and again, depending on the amplifier, but they need to have enough headroom to work with the signal that's coming in. Remember, the signal that's coming from the send is different to the signal that comes out of your guitar. It's much more. So take that into consideration. But certainly digital delays, digital reverbs in the loop will sound great.
Yes. And just to add to what Dan says, if you're using the amp with a clean sound, i.e. you're not deriving any overdrive from the amp, don't worry about the effects loop and just shove it all in the front. So go to your guitar, all through your pedals and into the front of the amp. If you're not generating any overdrive in the amp. If you are generating overdrive in the front of the amp, that means you've got your gain up high and the master volume down a bit lower, so you get a distorted sound from the amp itself. That's when everything that Dan just said starts to make sense.
Yeah.
But if you're just running the amp clean, you don't need to worry about the effects loop.
Straight in the front.
It's not required.
Yep, the way the good Lord intended it.
Yes, the good effects lord.
Yes.
Good luck.
Good luck, mate.
Good luck, Stephen. Thank you for being here. Guitar Moog again. He says, by the way, it's Moog as in Willow the Wisp, not as in Bob. Thank you.
I don't get the Will o' the Wisp thing.
Willow the Wisp was a cartoon.
Right.
And it had various... Kenneth Williams, I think, was Willow the Wisp, was he? Matron. And there were other people who I can... Was Hattie Jakes actually one of the... Or was she dead by then? Don't know. It was a cartoon.
Okay.
A British cartoon.
Right.
Yeah.
And who's Moog? Still don't know who Moog is.
I guess one of the characters.
Okay, right.
I don't remember it that well. The Wisp. British cartoon series produced in 1981 by the BBC, narrated by Kenneth Williams.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay. Come on. Mavis Cruitt, Arthur the Caterpillar, Evil Edna.
Evil Edna. Daniel Williams has just said Evil Edna.
Yeah, I'm trying. I still don't know who Moog is though. Anyway, there we are.
There you go.
D&M, says Jordan Kozisko. Hello, Jordan. He says, hi, D&M. I recently got my dream guitar, a 2017 Pelham Blue Firebird.
Oh, come on.
Get in.
That's lovely. Congrats.
My rig now feels complete. Thank you for the knowledge that you share. It's helped me shape my dream rig and be a better producer.
Oh, mate, that's brilliant.
Wow.
Oh,
Thank you,
congrats.
Jordan.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, man, enjoy that guitar.
Yeah.
We really, really do need it. In fact, when the old SG goes back, I'll see if they can lend us a Firebird for a while. And you can
We're
enjoy
gonna
that.
we're gonna get Dave Gregory in to bring his Firebirds in. See if we can get Phil Manzanero to come in as well.
Nice.
Bring his 63.
Yeah.
We'll have a Firebird gathering of minds. But Dave's got a bunch of amazing Firebirds.
A flock of Firebirds.
Yeah, very nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully not a murder of crows.
No. A phoenix of Firebirds.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hopefully not again.
Turning into ash.
Congrats on that, Jordan. And anything Pelham Blue is okay by me. Tom Bromby. Hi, Tom. He says, thanks a lot, Mick. My wife is now mad at me that we don't have a remote that mutes my amps. Looking forward to meeting you at the end of the month. And you, Tom, so you're coming to an experience day.
Brilliant.
Awesome. We love the experience days.
Apparently, Moog was the sausage dog-like thing.
Ah, okay.
Right. I don't know what a will-o'-the-wisp is.
But didn't it have... It was something weird about the dog. Didn't its feet point the other way or something?
Oh, okay. Well, that's just weird.
That could be something else. That could be
Okay.
cat dog.
Cat dog.
It's all a blur.
Right.
My childhood. Yeah, needles and takeaways. Chris Walker. Mick, our paths crossed ages ago at the Guitarist of the Year finals. Hello, Chris.
Oh, lovely.
He says, great to see you here. Love the video on Headroom and Overdrive. Fender Supersonic on the edge with a horse meat and a Rocket 45. Unbelievably good. Yeah, man.
Nice.
Yeah, man. I really like those Fender Supersonic amps. There was 2 generations of them.
Right. The Supersonic.
Yeah.
Awesome amplifier.
Yeah. Isn't that what our dear chum Simon uses?
Yeah. Yeah. The 100-watt Supersonic.
Simon from Biffy.
Yeah.
First clean sound. Yeah.
Yeah. Unreal.
And they did a 60 as well. But before that, they did like a red knob version, if I'm not remembering. But that might have been. Can't remember.
Okay.
Nice one, Chris. Thanks for being here, man.
Very good.
Interesting to see what you're up to these days. Mike Litton says, I'm playing my first bar gig tonight.
Oh, wow.
Get
Well
in.
done, mate.
Get in.
I remember. So I started playing. Oh, I had a really great conversation with my brother this week. So my brother started playing in gigs now.
Cool.
And he said, oh, we did this gig in the Valley in Brisbane. And I'm like, one of the first gigs I ever did was at the Roxy in the Valley. He goes, it's still there.
That was the Skids, just in case you didn't get it.
Oh, okay. And so, yeah, apparently the Roxy is still there.
Yeah.
And it's still a venue. But I remember, because I wasn't allowed to play rock music when I was gigging out when I was 17. So I used to sneak all my gig gear in a second guitar case.
Oh, wow.
And go to school and
Just Leuven Brothers
say I'm
covers.
staying at my mate Brent's house, and we'd end up down the Roxy. It was amazing. Yeah, but back then people were smoking and stuff. I remember coming home and being rumbled by the smell of guitar smoke in my guitar case. But yeah, whatever the gig is, little clubs or whatever, it's just
Bars.
For first bar gig, man, that's awesome. Have fun. It'll be brilliant.
Yeah.
Well done,
Have
mate.
fun. However you can manage to not be nervous and just go for it.
Yeah.
That's the way forward. And last super chat tonight will come from Andrew. Andrew, thank you. He says, opinions on the matchless Laurel Canyon.
Oh, it's the one mattress that I really want to try.
Why not just insert an F-type amp here? What are you thinking? Are you saying it's Fendery, the Laurel Canyon?
Yeah.
Oh, of course it would be, wouldn't it? Dope.
Well,
Yeah, I've never played one.
no. I was talking to a session guitarist, American session guitarist who uses one. And just says it's astonishing. And big, massive Matchless fan. Phil Jamison at Matchless and the whole team there, just really, really wonderful people. And they, that my DC30 or HC30 is my dream amp. But they started, all the other amplifiers. Whenever I've plugged into Matchless, I've just gone, there's something about this. This thing has a vibe that I just love. So I'm very interested in trying out a Laurel Canyon.
It's relatively new.
Well, I don't know. It's years old.
But it's
been around for
newer
a while.
than the Chieftain and the DC30 and all that.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, we should get one. Or at least get to hear one.
Yeah. I'll reach out to Phil and see what he says if there's
So
anyone
many
around.
good amps, aren't there?
Yeah. But it's that thing. I love that at experience days when they hear our rigs, right? But they hear all the amps individually. And every time an amp gets turned on and turned up, everyone goes, "Ooh, yeah." And because they've all got their own character that you and I have obviously gravitated towards for whatever reason. But when you hear the amp singing in its sweet spot,
When
it's
we
like
hear 100 dB, yeah.
it's very special. And then you get the deluxe reverb out. And you go, what do you think a deluxe reverb sounds like? Ring. It's ooh, yeah.
It still surprises me because I'm getting up to like 6 going, is it going to do it today?
Right.
And then you hit 9 and it's like, oh yeah, it's going to do it. Yeah. Happy days.
My son is
good.
calling. I'm sure he's calling to say, Dad, what the hell are you wearing?
Is he? Is he saying, can I have some credit for my
Probably.
game? Probably, yeah. Yeah. Cool. Let's have a dive into the comments then and see what's going on for the last 10 minutes. Who's here? James Blessed. There's nothing like it. No, you've heard it firsthand, James. Yeah. Todd Roy says, Mick, my new Vintera Roadworn Firemist Gold Strat has pickups that they say are wound hotter. The neck is 5.7, the middle is 5.9, and the bridge is 5.9. Is that normal for a 60s Strat? Yeah, I think I forget what the values in my 61 are. They're at least that. Bridge pickup might even be 6 and a bit. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
For that sort of thing. It's very easy to get railroaded or at least distracted by those numbers. I wouldn't get too caught up on it because there's so much else in the guitar that can affect it in the way the pickups are made, the pots, blah, blah, blah. So don't get too caught up on it. If you find that you do have imbalanced outputs, you might be surprised at just a small change in height can make quite the difference.
Yeah.
And there's lots of information online about how to do that. Also the stagger of the poles. I'm never sure about pole staggering, if I'm honest. Jason Lawler thinks the best way to do it is flat.
Right.
And I think as standard his Strat pickups have flat poles. I think.
Have they always had
No.
staggered? Right.
And
Wow.
some of the sets you see are that. I don't know if it's his standard thing, but anyway, he's an advocate of flat pole. I can't look at it. I just don't. When I see it, it hurts my eyes. So I don't care what it sounds like. I can't look at it.
What was the Seymour Duncan did a beef
Super quarter pounder.
pounder,
Yeah,
which was flat.
that was bonkers pickup. I had a telly with those in once.
Bonkers pickup.
Yeah, it was like 9K or
Yeah,
something.
but it was like
Actually,
I had
they might have been more.
no,
than
they
that.
were more than that because I had an Invader in the bridge,
Yeah.
and I had the quarter pounder in the neck,
Oh God.
and
Catherine's annoyed.
they were just beautiful together. Oh yes, of course
God,
we
sorry. We haven't done
done our
housekeeping.
Sorry, we've had too much shenanigans going
Oh
on.
God, I'm so sorry. I can't do everything. Is the truth of the matter. Right, 2 things of housekeeping. We want to say well done to Chris from Wichita.
Yeah. Is he a linesman?
I need you more than
Oh,
once.
what a song. What an amazing song.
I was going to make a really bad Judas Priest joke, but I wasn't quick enough.
Okay.
Glenn Tipton. So well done, Chris in Wichita. Right, March's pedal giveaway for patrons on Patreon is the Boss RC500 loop station. So if you are a current patron, when the email goes out, you'll be in the hat to win the Boss RC500.
That's a whole RC500.
It's pretty good.
It's a pretty good giveaway this month.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, the RC500 as opposed to the slightly unhappy 300.
Yeah. 332. I think you finally is.
So that is available to anyone who is a TPS Patreon, patreon.com/pedal show. And twice a year we do a lucky dip in from the TPS store.
Yeah.
Where today we've gone live with our lucky dip apparently. So
Right.
if you want to get in, if you feel lucky, punk, did I fire 6 t-shirts or only 5? Well, do you feel lucky, punk?
Do
And
you
if you
feel
do, get into the lucky dip on
Indeed.
thatpedalshowstore.com. We're drumming up some business. Obviously, this is very important. Apparently, the way it works is it could be any of our designs, both past and current. And if you may order more than one shirt, we make sure each one is different. Limited stock. When they're gone, they're gone.
Lovely.
When they're gone, they're gone.
I like a lucky dip.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that about you.
You never know what the sea is going to produce.
So I'm really sorry I forgot the housekeeping. It's not my job to be confused.
It's not. You're not as confused as he is.
Oh, Airfire. Tell the name of the song then about Wichita. It's the Wichita Lineman by Glenn Campbell.
Yeah.
There's also
What a
Sean
song.
Colvin has a great song called Wichita Skyline, which is also beautiful.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's some footage of Dan Campbell shredding.
Oh man, he was a guitar player.
He really was. He was so good.
Yeah. Danielle Williams says mixed gold top into the deluxe reverb is something to behold. Yes, Danielle came to a experience day and had that full on. Okay, John Channing. Thanks for this question, John. He says if you could have a famous guitarist's guitar, what would you choose? Mine would be Mick Ronson's Strip Les Paul.
Ah, that's nice.
So any guitarist's guitar in history, Dan, what would it be?
Do you know yours?
Yeah, it would be any one of the bursts that were on
Oh, that's nice.
Sounds of Southern Rock on the BBC.
Far out, man.
Yeah,
That
I
was
think
cool.
Gary
That was
Rossington, may he
awesome.
rest in peace, was on that. There was a couple on there that, and I forgive me, I don't know my bursts very well. There was one that just had the most perfect amount of flame, exactly the right colour sunburst for me anyway. And that's what I would have. And I can't remember who it might have been strapped to.
I would say. Oh, boy, it's so tricky. It could be okay. Neil Finn's Gold Top.
There you go.
Just
Yeah. So it's
Played
like a
it.
68, 69 Les Paul standard, but with Les Paul Deluxe.
Les Paul Deluxe
Yeah.
with the yeah. And the thing is, because all of those guitars that I've played, there's a handful that are great, but so many of them I've never connected with. But you know, we got to meet Neil and interview him and play those guitars, and it's like that guitar. It was it's astonishing. So that would be it.
Lots of people are saying Jimmy's one of Jimmy's Strats. Maybe if there was a 68, 69 4-bolt, maybe. But it's got to be a burst, hasn't it? Come on.
Yeah. I would want that guitar for, other reasons. But that, he's very important to me, Michael.
Who? Neil?
Neil.
Oh, yeah.
He's as important as halibut.
See, now, yeah. You should have said, now I would want that guitar just for the halibut.
Just for the halibut. There you go. Very good.
Oh, God, Dan.
Oh, God.
Let's get out of this place.
It's deep fried pod for tea tonight, kids.
I'll make that gag again. Let's get out of this place. Come on.
That's very good.
Let's have your fish jokes. Come on. EC's lost 1960 burst, says Michael Giliberto. That was on the tip of my tongue, actually. I was going to think about that. Yeah. Elias Blum says, Mick, seeing you at NAMM will truly be a celebrity sighting. Whoa. How do you feel about meeting your fans? Eye contact okay? Throw money at you? Like a super chat? Yeah, okay, Elias, there's a few things we need to... I'll be with two minders, and they will approach anyone and just say no eye contact, don't speak if spoken to, and on your knees if possible. So that's the way it usually works, I'm afraid. I have never met a single rock star who that wasn't the case for. In brackets, I have met rock stars who that is the case for. Apart from the knees bit.
Okay.
No, mate, come up and say hello for goodness sake. And I, as much as we appreciate the word, we fans is a bit strong. We're friends, we're family, man.
Yeah.
So if you see me, come grab me and we'll have a chat. Please,
There's nothing
please do
Mick
that.
likes more than impromptu sea shanties.
It had 3 masts till one fell off, and then the next one fell off, and then the last one fell off, and then it had no masts.
Oh, that is funny.
It was a ship, and then it was a boat.
Very good. Very good.
Warrior of Genghis Khan. Warrior says, Mick, you were asking for the effect Guthrie used on erotic cakes. Guthrie did not use an effect. It's a technique where you stretch the B string over the top of the G string and bend it. I'm going to listen again. If it's not a ring modulator.
Oh, I've seen people do that.
Surely it's got to be a ring
Right.
modulator.
So it's that technique, right, where you cross the strings over and not. But there's this classical guy that every year does a song where he basically does a whole orchestra on a guitar, and he wants to do this thing, and he's swapped the strings over, and he got this snare
Oh, wow.
sound out of it. It was just
Martin
awesome.
Taylor always used to do a thing where he'd wrap a bit of cardboard on the strings and get like steel drum type sounds.
Right.
That was pretty good. Sorry, we did miss one super chat. My apologies. We'll finish with this then. It was from, and Shane F, I'm so sorry we missed this early. He says, any reasons why an attenuator is a bad idea for an old brownface amp? No. Just make sure the
output impedance matches what you're attenuating.
yeah, so the speaker and the output match for the attenuator. The general advice on attenuators is what you usually do when you're using an attenuator is crank the amp more, therefore it's working harder, therefore the valves will wear quicker. So if you're not worried about any of that, then no real reason, as long as the impedances are matched.
Yeah. So it can be tricky if you've got something like a 2 ohm baseman or something like that. Just got to make sure that those output impedances match the input impedance of the attenuator, and then you'll be fine.
Groovy. You boys are lost at sea today, says Robert Lewis.
Indeed are.
And Chedhead said, Mick so quick this evening, must be turbocharged.
Turbocharged.
Nice. I think in the US
Very
you
good.
do actually call it turbo in the UK.
It's part of turbot.
Yeah, in here we call it turbot,
Right,
and in the US I think they say turbo.
right.
Yeah.
911 turbot.
Yeah. Okay then, Daniel. Time to play us out. Thank you for being with us. It's always a pleasure to hang out. We'll see you next Monday, I think. We will definitely see you next Monday. BV, that's for you as well. Because we're filming on Tuesday, so Dan will be here Monday night for Meat Feast.
Indeed. Oh, come on, now I'm hungry.
And we're not filming tomorrow, so yes.
Yes.
Groovy.
Groovy.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. I can't sing the rest because it's offensive the way Sid Vicious sang it. Good night.
Good night.
Good job, Dan.